Chapter 9. Tan's porridge this morning compelled me to enlighten him on how to cook a proper home-cooked meal. On the way back from school, I made Tan buy some raw materials at the supermarket. I cooked a simple dish I could do without his assistance. The man who was sitting at the dining table took in the sight of the bowl of clear soup with tofu, seaweed, and minced pork, and a plate of tuna salad I had made, his eyes alight with excitement. Tan reached out and ate the soup. "Oh, Doc, please marry me." This man always crossed the line. "No, do me a favor and go find yourself a wife who can cook." "Who needs a wife when I have you?" Famished, Tan shoveled a spoonful of rice into his mouth. Now he pushed my buttons. "Shut up and eat. Finish it up so we can have an important conversation. I told you not to say things like this again, or so help me God, I'll give you a piece of my mind. Just get it through your head, you're not a fool. I thought we discussed this already." After my ultimate rebuke, I was pretty sure he looked a little downcast. "Right, sorry." After we had washed the dishes and kept them in place, we moved to a sofa in the living room. Tan sat with his legs crossed while rubbing his chin thoughtfully after I told him about what had happened to Faye. "Since you are local, do you know anything about big shots?" I asked Tan. "I have some idea. Only a handful of rich folks here have been lending out mob loans. As far as I know, Hong, the owner of the building I'm currently renting for my school, is one of them. But he's a decent man. It doesn't seem like he could be involved with gangsters, though. We also have this man who owns a used car business in Klang Vieng, downtown. I don't have much details on this guy, and the other one is your friend, Prosecutor Songsak." My heart nearly stopped beating when his name was mentioned. "His family has been wealthy for a long time. Their reputation has been quite fearsome. I've heard his uncle had killed someone. Until now, he's scotch-free." Tan knitted his eyebrows. "His connections with the police made him tremendously powerful." "But the prosecutor was kidnapped already," I quickly protested. "That's right. However, I still think something is fishy. We can't really say anything as long as there is no evidence telling whether or not he is still alive. He could have hidden in the shadows and commanded everything from there." I grabbed Pert's phone in my pocket despite myself. "That's impossible." "I don't know. It's just my view from a lot of angles. Do you have a piece of paper? I'm going to take a note." I handed him a piece of paper I had pulled out from my bag. Tan listed down the names he had mentioned. "I'll take care of this. You're not a local. You wouldn't know your way around here. I will talk to Hong, the car dealer, and your friend's distant relative. I might find some clue as to who could be the thug's leader. Your job is to try to contact Dr. Faye's brother and ask him who the collector is." Tan glanced at me. "But are you sure we're on the right track?" I folded my arms, closing my eyes. "I don't know if we came the right way, but at least we've had some clues where to start." "Has it ever occurred to you that this might be some kind of revenge?" I opened my eyes, frowning. "What do you mean?" "I mean, all of this could have been a scheme just to spite you, to enslave your destiny." Tan tapped the pen on the paper. "It's just a thought. Maybe, maybe not. Do you have any enemies?" "No, I don't." I clasped my hands on my lap, pondering. "Not an enemy per se, but maybe someone who resents me." Tan nodded. "Who?" "I don't think it's him. He might hate me, yes, but Janjia had nothing to do with this." "Just tell me." I went silent for a while. This was my mistake, a mistake owning to my ignorance. It happened when I first moved here to work for the government. 2 years ago, I was summoned to a crime scene, which was a 2-story, half-timbered house in the middle of a longan garden. I stepped down from the van, Anand in tow. He was the professional coroner who had been working at the hospital since the time of Dr. Aparak, who had just recently retired. Since moving here, this was the 3rd time that I, Dr. Bunniket, a dynamite forensic physician fresh out of medical school, had taken part in the post-mortem investigation on the scene. Captain 2 made his way towards me with a broad smile. "Morning, Dr. Bunnicket." "What a refreshing morning, Captain." I looked around the Long End garden. "Right in the head, at sunrise." Captain 2 wiggled his eyebrows. "Think of it as your initiation rite." I laughed. "It's better than the chair room, if you ask me. No one forced me to sing all the time here." "I really like you, mate." Captain 2 led me towards the house. "The deceased is Vandy, 54 years of age. The body was discovered at 8:15 a.m. The neighbors heard a gunshot. When they reached her, she was lying in the pool of blood, a gun in her right hand. Her son claimed that she was right-handed." "Is the gun still at the scene?" I turned to him. "Yes. Do you want the crime scene investigator to put it away? We're done with the photos." "I can take care of that." Captain 2 proposed like he could read my mind. I was just concerned that the gun would go off, nothing more. "I'll just have a quick look, and the CSIs can put away the gun." I walked into the house. The first thing I saw was the body of a middle-aged woman lying on her back on the floor, a pool of blood haloed around her head. On the wall behind the body, large bloodstains trickled down by the force of gravity. In the corpse's right hand was a revolver. "I'm gonna have the CSI put the gun away, so you could work on the body." Captain 2 went to talk to the agent, whose head was bobbing up and down nearby. "Cause of death, a gunshot wound." But what was her probable manner of death? It looked like a suicide on the surface. After the revolver had been moved away, Anna and I slid on the gloves and walked right up to examine the body. After the external examination of the corpse, I moved on to estimate the time of death. I tried to move the body's interphalangeal joint. Very fresh. She's been dead no more than 2 hours. I moved up to look at the bullet wound on her head. The wound was caused by a handgun ammunition. The site of the entrance wound was the right temple, as the wound shape was symmetrical and oval. Irregular in shape, the exit wound was on the left temple with a little bit of brain stuck at the exit. I saw the gray ring around the wound, so the shooting range should not be more than 6 inches. All the patterns fit. Now the only thing left to do was to run the GSR on her hand to determine that she had pulled the trigger herself. "Has the deceased had any problems lately?" I turned to ask Captain 2. "Her son said she had debt problems, and lately the price of longan has gone down as well." I rose to my feet. "Then I need to send the body to the hospital for further examination." I turned to Captain 2 and smiled with confidence. "But I'm pretty sure that it's a suicide. That's pretty much it. Everything makes sense, and the motive is clear." Then I heard a ruckus from the outside. Everyone in the house turned to where the sound came from at the same time. "Oi, Cam!" one man cried out. "Cam's gonna jump into the well. Somebody help!" "The heck?" Captain 2 sprinted outside. Anna and I took off our gloves and followed him. Cam, Wendy's husband, tried to drown himself in the artisan well behind his house while I was performing the autopsy on Wendy. The man who called out to Cam was a villager who ran into him. He saw Cam cling to the window ledge by his fingers outside his own house as if he was eavesdropping, and suddenly he rushed to the well. Everyone had managed to save him just in time. "It's my fault. She killed herself because of me. Because of me." Cam was held to sit on the ground, crying pitifully. From the interrogation, Cam and Wendy had a huge altercation the night before. Cam left and slept somewhere else. Once he returned, he found that his house was surrounded by onlookers and the police. He then sneaked towards the back window and saw his wife's body. The man had also heard what I said about Wendy had committed suicide. That night, Cam was found dead, hanging from a logan tree in the garden. And later that day, a man turned himself in, confessed to shooting Wendy, then put the revolver in her hand. The man's hand tested positive for powder residue. He was the one who pulled the trigger. Cam's son was grieving and holding a grudge for his father's demise that wasn't supposed to happen. He had sent a letter threatening to kill me for my inaccurate determination of the manner of death. However, nothing happened after that. I had heard from Cam's son again, and the man who murdered Randy was brought to justice. Can you remember the son's name? Tan took notes of the details I told him on the paper. His name is Kopku, I sighed. Oh, I remember his name all right. He scared the shit out of me back then. Tan nodded. All right then. I will ask around where Kopku is and what he's doing. Is there anyone else? Anyone who might have borne you a similar grudge? I went still. Someone who resented me. Someone who despised me. That he wanted to control my destiny. That he would consider staging a murder to get me involved in this mess and terrorize me in every way imaginable. Then, without any reason, one name appeared in my mind. Tar. I glanced at Tan, who was staring at me in anticipation. Do you think love could make someone loathe the one they love and come back for revenge, even though it was a long time ago? Tan's eyebrows shot up to meet his hairlines. Why would you resent someone you love? Unless, of course, you've betrayed her or dumped her in the cruelest way possible. By the way, what woman must also be a psycho if she's gonna hold a grudge to that whole new level? It might seem very unlikely, but if you want to look at the big picture about who the potential suspect might be, I paused for a while to get myself together. I once dated a guy.